So we are talking about success lesson, and I'll be covering 10 points from people, whom I follow, and I've been listening to their podcasts, and I really look up to them as individuals. So the first person I have picked up is Oprah Winfrey. I'm not sure, if you guys follow her, but I really find her very inspirational. And, I follow many, many of her podcasts, her interviews, and it has been really, insightful for me. So the first one, which I have picked, which is very much in line to what I believe into and what I also practice, right? Go with your gut instinct. So what Oprah says, your gut is your inner compass. Whenever you have to consult with other people for an answer, you are headed in the wrong direction. So sometimes, and many times, and as you start practicing this, it will become more evident, right? Instead of like when you're confused, when you don't know which part you have to go, it may be a small decision, it may be a big decision, it may be anything, right? So sometimes we would go and ask people or ask for opinion, and then people will give their own opinion, right? Because they don't know actually like what you are going to be, what your basis is. And then their opinion will leave you even more confused. So, so the best thing what I have found and what I have practiced is when you are confused, yes, you can go and consult people, but the best thing to do is to kind of look into yourself and go with there would be something saying that even if the logic may say that no, go it, but if your gut says that no, you should opt for the other part, I would generally, follow my instinct, and it has always, been good for me. So that's the first one. The second one, focus on helping others, right? This is something which was not very prevalent for me. It was something that the more and more I learned from others, that I have started developing, this lesson, or I have started following this lesson. Focus on helping other, right? So sometimes we are so engrossed in ourselves, right? We are so engrossed into, oh, me, right? I want this, I need this, and not really considering about other people. So there is this, so let me read out like one of the quote from Oprah. So what she says is, the surest way to bring goodness to yourself is to make it your intention to do good for somebody else, right? So opening up, giving the space in your mind and your intent to do good for someone else. And it doesn't really, you would not experience the feeling, and you would not experience the goodness it does to you as well as to the other person unless you start practicing that. And that's something I have been trying to, inculcate in my time, in my intent of, in being conscious, in being aware that, hey, I need to think about other people. I need to focus on helping other people and get out of always this me, I want this. Sometimes you do things for others. Okay. The third one, again, this is something which is difficult, but when you start practicing it, it opens up like a whole different world, right? Learning how to turn negatives to positive, right? So many times, many times, when we do something and it fails, or when somebody give you criticism, or it may be anything, most people tend to be bogged down by it, get depressed, leave that, whatever you were trying to pursue, and creating a block of yourself. And I have been in that situation. Like maybe your friends would reject you, maybe you don't feel fit in, maybe the goals what you have set, it didn't work out for you, or somebody said no to you, right? Accepting no from someone is very difficult. So there has been time wherein I have been bogged down by situations of negativity, and you just get stuck, and you are like, you're like, oh, I'm not feeling good, and you're crying, or you're just sitting in a corner. And on the hindsight, when I look back now, I feel that, oh my God, I have wasted so much of my time. That's how I feel now. So now, like, as you start practicing that turn negative to positive, um, for any negative experience you have, you are learning a lesson out of it, right? You're going through that because you are learning a lesson. So the faster you realize that, okay, uh, if you master that skill of turning negative to positive, and also being aware that, hey, I don't need to be bogged down, and you are learning a lesson. What does this teach me? And learning that and moving on, because right now I'm at this stage wherein time is very limited. I have very limited time in this universe. So every minute, every hour, every day, what I spent, I want it to be meaningful, and I want it to be something which is contributing to my purpose of my life in this universe. So I think like that really helped me. Like when I started listening, it really helped me to overcome being bogged down, wasting my time on crying, or sitting in a corner and being bogged down like a couple of days just because somebody said something and you are being upset about it. So yeah. So the quote what Oprah says is, uh, turn your wounds into wisdom. Like anything, like when you get hurt, turn that into something you have learned into wisdom and move on. Okay. The fourth point, again, like I picked it up from Oprah. And I think, we have covered this in our previous session. Surround yourself with those you wish to be like, right? So there are certain people whom you're attracted to, whom you admire, whom you like their way of life, their way of work. So you want to, as you are going through your life, you want to be surrounded yourself with people whom you admire, and who you want to grow up to be, right? When you see like someone, like for example, when I was small, I always admired my father's punctuality and commitment, right? He was like, if we have a meeting set for 8 a.m., he would be there like 7:30 a.m. Like he would be so ready like before that. So as a child, when I grew up, to watch him being so committed on, being on time, keeping words, that impacts you. So when you surround yourself with, with people whom you wish, right, like to be like them, then you slowly look at how they are implementing it, how they are seeing it, how they are taking action on it, and then you imbibe those skills and characteristics. So surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher, right? And these people, um, especially, okay, you like what they are doing, and if they encourage you, and they only want to see that you fly higher, you are elevated from what you are right now. That's only going to make you achieve more and more, right? So we are like under the umbrella of high achievers. So we always want to be surrounded with people um, with characteristic whom we admire, and also with people who has the best interest in lifting us higher. So those are 4 points from Oprah. And then the next person I'm picking is Bill Gates. So Bill Gates is another personality whom I really, follow and like. And, I love his work. I love the way he uh, choose projects, not only on the technical side, but on humanities, on using, his resources. Very, very inspiring. So one of the things he says, um, which I'm not sure whether we in our society uh, think about, because for the most part in our society where we come from, we are kind of we have a really set line, right? When you study, it's always studies, and then you have different line of career which are known to people. And if you choose a career out of the ordinary, engineering, doctor, maybe even lawyer, um, people start questioning you. So what he says, right, for him it is true, and it is quite inspiring. And I think we should always look for opportunity, because even if it is kind of set in our society on how you have to study and what line you have to go, I think we still have to look for opportunity. So what he says is start as early as possible, right? So when he says that, it means that align with what you like to do as early as possible. Do you know he was only 13 years old when he started working with computers? And when he was, I mean, he knew that he was really interested in that line of work, and he was only 13. Um, so when you start something at an early point in your life, you become molded around it. So that's why parents play a very important role in um, nurturing what the child wants, right? If the parents see, oh, my child is interested in art, or my child is interested in uh, say, even a child, like, even if being a doctor is something which is uh, I guess stereotype, and but there are some children who are really interested, like, in medicine line. And when you see that, like, what if, like, you expose the child to more opportunities and more projects around that? So be it anything, I think, like, nurturing the child's inclination even at a young age, right? So for me personally, when I was 13, I didn't have any inclination on anything. Why? Because it was very set for me that, okay, you study till 10th, and then you're going to give the exam. And then you do your +2, you're going to give the exam for engineering or medical, and then you're going to go, right? So that is how, like, it's been set. So I was not really exposed to other things like art, music, and later in life, when had my own I have my own independence, I started investing my time and energy in exploring, and I'm still exploring what I feel I have missed as a child, right? And sometimes when I sit and look back, I feel that maybe if I was exposed to different opportunity, my career line might have been different, right? I don't regret anything. I have a wonderful career, but it makes me think. And now, like, with my children's generation and the way, they have, like, a lot of opportunities to experience different things. Um, and also reading about what Bill Gates is saying, that yeah, even at a young age, when you start doing things what you like, it it molds you to that, to that line which you are attracted to. Now, the second thing what Bill Gates says, which I really love, is be your own boss as soon as possible, right? And he says that if you don't build your dream, someone else will hire you to build yours. So that's so true, right? So obviously, if you have your own dream and you work on it, then you are going to be your own boss, right? You're going to have people, you'll hire people, and you're going to tell them that, hey, this is what you need to execute, and they will build your dream. But if you don't, then obviously we have to work for someone. And so you will be working for someone else's dream. But of course, it may be aligned to, what you like, and that's fine. But I found it very interesting to um, read this quote because it gives you the inspiration and courage to pursue what you like, right? What you dream of, that be your own boss as soon as possible. If you don't build your dream, someone else will hire you to build their dream. So think about this: when you have dreams, don't give it up. It can start as a small project. It can become bigger. Um, and I really love this. This is something I keep looking at it. I read it. When I work in some of my projects and some setback comes, and I'm like, okay, be your own boss as soon as possible. If you don't build your dream, someone else will hire you. So the other thing, which again, like I I like, or rather, I chose it because I kind of consider myself like being a nerd. As a child, I used to be more a first, second, third bencher. I used to be more on, like books and studies and, doing things right, in the sense that doing my homework. So he says, be nice to nerds. Chances are you will end up working for one. So I found that like really interesting, um, because sometimes when you're, especially like for my young viewers, when you are in school or in college or in a group, um, the nerds are more technical, and sometimes probably they may not be very socially, what do you call, not knowing like what to say at what time or how to interact. And they may not be, the most socially active people. And you may think that they are not the happening one. So I think when Bill Gates said this, I'm sure that he might have experienced some of that. And if you read, his childhood, his books and biography, you would also come to know about, some of the um, his childhood phase, wherein he had spent like a lot of time in reading, and he was not really mingling around. So when I look at this quote, I think about, oh, what must have made him say that, right? So he says, be nice to nerd. Chances are you will end up working for one, because everywhere you go, you would see that, the technology, the execution would be led by someone who knows what's happening at the back end. So think about that when you are, in a social setting, when you are in your classroom, when somebody is being singled out. Be nice to a nerd. All right, so the next person I have picked up is Elon Musk. So do you know who is Elon Musk? Yeah, so for those who don't know, you should look him up. But again, like he is, one person, again, I follow. I just find, his innovation, um, and the way he thinks. I, it's very interesting. So, and also he has brought a different way of thinking, right? And obviously, like, bringing this idea about electric cars and executing it and bringing it in the world with such beautiful designs. I love it. So, one of the thing what he says is you must execute your ideas well, right? Which is very much in line with what I think. When you dream, yes, you have to dream. When you have a vision, yes, you have to have a vision. But what if like you don't act on your dream or your vision? It's only going to remain as something which does not, come to life. So very important. You must execute your ideas well, right? And then to add to that, he says the success of an idea depends on how well it is executed. One that receives no action remains simply as an idea, while one that is executed effectively can grow into a superb business, right? So, whatever he has done, um, it is no, there is a lot of challenge in what he is doing, or what anyone, like when you have a vision, it can be anything. There will be a lot of challenge, but when you execute it and then, oh, what is the problem now? Okay, let's resolve that. Okay, what's the problem now? So you have to simply like um, plan and execute on your idea, get people, smart people, a smart team who can help you execute on that idea. And that's how you move on, and that's how you create great products, right? So um, so as a career, I'm in product innovation team, and so for me, I imbibe many of the things what he says, and kind of think, when I'm building up ideas on how to execute it and put it in the market. All right. Um, so the next lesson, right? This can be tough, and this is something which can be difficult, um, but it could be very helpful. And again, this is something which I haven't learned before, um, but have found it to be tough as well as helpful. So, what he says is seek out constructive criticism, right? Most of us, many people are not good with criticism. In fact, we say that, oh, stay away from negative people. In fact, we say that, oh, like you don't want to hear negative people. But what if like those criticism are constructive, right? What if like you look at it at a different way and take it as constructive criticism? And you would know, like, when someone is giving you constructive criticism, or when someone is just trying to, bog you down with their negative comments, you would know that. So, what he says is many people shy away from criticism. We would rather enjoy compliments. Criticism tells us what is wrong with us or the things that we do. Compliments simply tell us how great we are. The main difference between the two is that criticism helps us to become better by pointing out our mistakes. And Elon Musk constantly seeks criticism. So apparently, he always asks his team, people he worked with, and he embraced criticism, right? Because he has a very open mind. He doesn't think that when somebody is criticizing, it's not a personal attack, right? It's on how, like, if something has gone wrong, identifying that, oh, this was wrong, and how we can move forward, um, learn from that and move forward. So this is a very interesting lesson from successful people, right, in the world. it could be difficult when you started because, you don't like it. Humans by nature loves compliment, right? When somebody would say, um, you're doing great, da da da, it is like a more easy conversation. But when someone is giving you criticism, when somebody is telling you that, oh, um, what you're doing is not really, or like, if you're being mean or whatever, if somebody is calling out on you, don't get angry instantly. Think about it. And actually, it takes courage for the other person. Think about the other person too, right? The other person also, it is challenging for them to tell something, but they are telling it to you because they want you to improve on that, or because they don't want you to be stuck, with that point. Um, and and you would, like, now that I'm getting older, I reflect on my life, and there has been instance where people have said like difficult things, and at that time maybe I was like, oh my god, why would they say that? But on the hindsight, I'm like, oh, they are saying that, now that I look back and I have learned this lesson, I feel that, like, oh, I could have, taken it more constructively, right? And life is always going to be like that. It's not the age, or it's not, sometimes you would see it, sometimes you won't. But knowing that, like, constructive criticism is only going to help you uh, improve and be more polished and be more a better version of yourself. And if you yourself, um, seek criticism from people whom you trust and who are in your, in your area, wherein like they lift you up, then it's even better, right? Because they will even tell you like, okay, this is what I see, how you're working, and maybe if you do this, it may be better, right? Different perspective. So that is one thing which, um, I have become more aware, especially like in my workplace on, where we work in a very fast pace, with a lot of deliverables, with a lot of timelines. I have been practicing more on giving constructive criticism to my team members on, working better together. Um, and then, especially after I read that, oh, Elon Musk does that too, I'm like, oh, way to go, right? So this is one thing which, which is a little bit of a newer area for me, but I'm trying to work more on, on the constructive criticism. The last lesson for today's session, there are many lessons from different personality, but and the reason why I'm sharing this in today's session is I want you to look up, read about personalities you follow, look into how, right, what kind of things they do that we can learn from them, and we can imbibe these lessons to be successful, and become high achiever, right? Um, so the last one from Elon Musk, what he does when he plans anything, any release, anything for his product, he considers failure. He considers failure, and he always has a backup plan. And when I read this, it really made sense. And unknowingly, I have been practicing it morely in my workspace. Like I said, my work, we work in innovation, and, we try different things, different ideas. And I always have like, okay, if this doesn't work, let's try this. If this, so we always have a backup plan. Okay, if this does not work, in the way we are thinking, then, what could be the possible backup thing? And because of the timeline, we have to kind of line it up with backups. And when I read this, I was like, oh, wow, I have been practicing it. So it made me feel a little better. So just to add to what he's saying, the main reason why we don't do what we desire is because we are afraid of failure, right? Many times, yeah, we don't do it because we're like, oh, what if I get rejected, or what if, um, it fails. So what he's saying is that instead of letting this fear stop you, you should acknowledge it. So what about if we think that, okay, we have an idea, we have come up with a plan on how to execute on it. It may fail, but instead of stopping, like, oh, it would fail. How about if we change the way we think and we say that, yeah, it may fail, and if it fails, I will do this. I will handle it this way. So that way you are very open with the outcome. And so this is one thing which I have been, like uh, working on more into my personal project. Like, for example, the fundraising, what I'm doing. Uh, yeah, I have never been a salesperson, right? I used to find it very uncomfortable to ask people to buy something, right? So that was something like which I had to break. And so it's like, okay, when I ask somebody, for example, like the project where I'm doing for fundraising, where when I ask somebody to buy my cards or my wall arts or my painting, what it can be successful, right? The person can say, yes, we'll be happy to support you. Or the person can say no, or the person can be silent. But I have already taken into account that, oh, these are the scenarios which can happen, and I'm okay with that, right? So I just didn't like stop that, oh, it may fail, I may not, raise much money or whatever. So um, I thought this was a very, very um, important success lesson for me personally, and I have been practicing that. So these are 10 of the lessons, which I've gone through from three personality: Oprah, Bill Gates, and Elon. Three of them whom I do follow and watch the interview and really enjoy, what they are putting out in the world. So to you, like I would say that, yeah, look up, who you follow, who you are inspired, and see, right, what do they do, what makes them successful.